Hello coaches, welcome back to another breakdown. Now I know we get a lot of coaches on here who are really interested on the tactical side of the game and the analysis side of the game, and I know we've got a lot of young coaches on here who aspire to work at that level, at the professional level, either as an analyst or a professional coach, or today you see it quite a bit, the coach analyst role as well is coming into play. So today we're going to have a chat with someone who knows a lot about the analysis and data world, and that is Oliver Gage. Oliver has worked in England with Sheffield Wednesday, in the MLS with Houston Dynamo, in Canada with the Canadian Premier League. He's also built a platform for coaches to improve and get better, and he is in the process of developing a community to help coaches climb the ladder, get opportunities in the world of professional and elite football. Before we start, please give it a like and a subscribe below if you're interested in more of these videos. And if you really enjoyed this interview, you can listen to the whole podcast episode, which is released today, Monday. Modern Soccer Coach Podcast, link is below. But first up, I wanted to ask Ollie about the 3 top qualities that it takes for an analyst to work in the professional game. What are the 3 most important things? Here we go.
Good question. Really good question. Kind of put me on the spot with that one a little bit. I would say this is kind of said a lot and it's emphasized a lot, and it's very true. I think the coach-analyst relationship, coaching staff-analyst relationship is huge. For a long time, there was kind of this feeling that analysts kind of thought they knew it all, they knew better. You know, they were laptop guys that didn't know the game. I think that's changing. You know, there's a lot more hybrid roles now where an awful lot of analysts have got coaching badges, they've got a background doing other things. But that relationship with your coaching staff, understanding how to talk to them, when to talk to them, what about, and just giving them the feeling that you're kind of like one of them, you know, sort of thing, and you get it and you're one of the group is absolutely massive. Like at the end of the day, you can be the best analyst in the world, but if the people that you're trying to get to kind of change their behavior based on analysis don't want to hear it from you because you're a nerd or anything like that, it's just not going to work. So I'd say one of the most important things is certainly that coach-analyst relationship and your personality and your persona, you know, especially if you're spending time around the players too. You know, you don't want to be, like I said, kind of like the nerd in the locker room while all the guys are kind of having a bit of a jibe behind your back and poking some fun at you. Second, I think fundamentally there's a little bit of and again, I'm sure this is something we'll get into a bit later on. Fundamentally, I think there's a misunderstanding amongst loads of people in the industry and analysts themselves at times about what analysis actually is and how good and what good analysis can do to help. I see it everywhere where, you know, Twitter, wherever you want to call it, YouTube, places that people are uploading clips of videos with, you know, laser beams coming across it and squares highlighted on the pitch and players being dragged everywhere and all these special effects. And it doesn't actually do anything, right? It's not analyzing anything. It's literally just saying, this is what happened and here's something that looks cool. And it's adding no value there. So that's kind of on the public side. And then, you know, privately, for an analyst working at a club, I think you've got to really understand what value you can bring and how you're going to bring it. So at the end of the day, you're trying to provide another layer of information and higher quality level of information so coaches can make better decisions, have different types of conversations, do different things. If you're not bringing anything that changes behavior, then you're not actually adding any value. You're just kind of you're just cutting some video up because someone else doesn't have the time or, you know, the capability to do it. So there's probably some value in that. You know, video analysis or being a video editor is valuable because it saves time for other people. But in the purest sense of the word, I'd say that's certainly not analysis or certainly not high level analysis. So understanding how it can help the coaching staff and how it ties into the bigger picture is absolutely massive. Then number 3, I'd say this is probably influenced by some of the personal experience I've had, but I would say understanding when and how to go and do things on your own without being asked. So if you're a young analyst or any analyst, I guess, and you want to be valuable to a club, the ability for you to bring something to the coaching staff that you haven't been asked for, that's relevant and adds quality to a conversation or brings a new conversation to the table, I think is absolutely massive. You know, me and you, like I said, we did the webinar series 3 or 4 years ago now, and I kind of told the story of how I, out of nowhere, approached the coaching staff with what I thought was a fairly significant area of improvement for a player that we spent millions of dollars on at Houston. And off the back of my presentation to them, you know, we developed an IDP for a player and started looking to evolve his game and change the way he was making decisions around the box and shooting the ball. And that was literally me thinking I saw something, investigating it, finding some evidence, and bringing it to the staff kind of cold, you know, out the blue. They didn't know it was coming. I just asked them for an hour of their time. And I think for an aspiring analyst or a young one, or any analyst that's looking to improve, having that drive to go and find something like that, but also the understanding of how to do it, what to bring, and when is really important. You're not going to bring that up a day before a game. You know, you're not going to bring that up about certain players. Maybe that's a little bit of a touchy subject, you know, for whatever reason. You know, you spent a lot of money on someone and the head coach stuck his neck out and it's not really worked out. Probably not the best time to bring that publicly in front of all the staff and say, hey, there's this massive problem with our star player that you wanted, you know, like, so just understanding how to approach the staff on that. And again, that ties into that coach analyst relationship as well. But yeah, that kind of self-drive, self-motivation, bringing something to the table that wasn't asked for, as long as it's okay, I think that's huge. And that's where you add your value.
The second thing I wanted to ask Ollie was, what are some of the pitfalls when you go into a role as a professional analyst? What are some things you want to avoid in order to help you progress, work with coaches and players effectively, and be a success in the role?
And I guess at its core, it's kind of a philosophical question of what is analysis then? Yeah, technically it's analysis. You've analyzed two formations, you've analyzed the way two teams set up, right? But that's, you know, and maybe you've analyzed where, you know, this is where there's some space being created on the field and whatever. But you're not really going much further than scratching the surface there. You know, like, so if you want to work with a head coach, if you come to him the day before a game, or, you know, 3-4 days before a game, and you're like, okay, it was 4-4-2 versus 4-3-3, and here's some spotted, like, I don't think that really adds too much. Like, I don't really feel like a coach does much with that information. You know, what do you do with that as a coach? For me, there's different areas of analysis, right? There's pre-game, there's post-game, there's data analysis, there's video. So it's a very kind of blurred gray. There's a lot of blurred lines, kind of gray area there. But for me, the way post-game analysis ties into your coaching methodology and the way you operate at a club is a million times more impactful than opposition analysis, in my personal opinion. So if you can bring good analysis or good information to a coach post-game about the way the team are performing, individuals are performing, I think they can really grab some of that information and do something with it. So I guess just using your example, right? You've got an analyst that says, let's go with pressing, right? You've got an analyst that says, okay, it's Leeds against Arsenal coming up. You know, in the last game, Leeds set up in a 4-4-2. They pressed, they did this, whatever. Arsenal set up this way. You're like, great, but what does that do? You know, what do I do with that information? How do I make my team better with that information? If you've got an analyst that says in the last game, in the last 5 games, Leeds' pressing has dropped off and they were averaging 15 turnovers in the opposition half, and now they're averaging only 10. And when teams play Leeds, you know, they turn the ball over on average 25% more, whatever. If you're Jesse Marsh, if you're Leeds' coach, you can now say, our pressing, or the rate at which we're turning the ball over in the opposition half, has dropped off significantly. Now I know what video I might want to go looking for. Now I know the conversations I might want to be having with our players. Now I know what I might be wanting to design a session on, do some work on in training. And that's what I don't see in the public sphere at the moment. So like we said, you've got even some of the data work out there. It's like, here's the top pressers in Europe. You get an XY scatter off Y Scout data that's grabbed, and you make it look a bit prettier than I would in Excel. Looks okay, but it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't really do much. Like, I feel like the next step is not there, and which is, so what does this mean for a coach? So what do I do with this information? How does this tie into the coaching, the coaching process? I don't see much of that out there in the public domain at the moment. I just feel like I'm just desperate for people to start going one step further, which is, okay, what would you do with this information if you worked for a club? I've tried to help with that and with some people and publicly sometimes, but that's really what's missing for me. If you get me, that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but that's how I'm feeling about the whole thing.
Okay, third and finally, and this is probably the best part, if you're aspiring to work at the professional level, what are some opportunities that Ollie can help you with in order to learn about analysis or to create a connection or relationship that can help you get a role and gain experience and accelerate your development in order to work at the professional level? Here's an opportunity Ollie has created for analysts, and you're going to love this.
Yeah, so I mean, with everything we've just spoken about, there's a huge gap in the industry. So just to be clear, the APFA, it's the Association of Professional Football Analysis. It's going to be an actual body, not just me. Coach Tech was just me. I'm shutting it down. I've gathered some other analysts, some people that work in the business side of analysis, providing software and services and stuff. There's now a body of people that want to put their name on this and kind of create a more formalized institution body that represents analysis and analysts. It's kind of like by analysts for analysts type thing. There's a League Managers Association. The supporters, worldwide football supporters, have an association. Agents have one. Sports science has one. Scouts have an association. There's nothing there for the analysis world. I've called it for many years. It's like the Wild West, right? Like, first of all, there's no definition of roles really. You've got video analysts, tactical analysts, data analysts, recruitment analysts. Like, I've done a little bit of everything in my time and nothing 100% at the same time. Now I'm on the way out of the analysis world and more kind of sporting director type of job. So there's no industry recognized standard, even in badges really. You've got people like me at Coach Tech that have delivered something, and federations are just slowly starting to build their own courses in analysis. Many of them still aren't built by analysts, which is so strange to me. But usually you've got a former scout or a coach or someone that's building an analysis license, and you would never have that with sports science or coaching itself. It would be unheard of. So it's very, very strange to me. So what we're trying to do is formalize things a little bit more, create a body that represents analysis and tries to tackle some of these issues we've outlined. So barriers to entry for underrepresented groups is going to be a huge one. We're going to try and break down some of those barriers with funding for underrepresented people. Whether that's courses, it could be mentorship, helping them to fund, literally putting petrol or gas in their car if they do have to do an unpaid internship. I don't believe that professional clubs really should have unpaid interns at this point, especially with the amount of money in the professional game, but it's happening and people are working for free. So can we help fund them somehow, on a case-by-case basis? It depends how big we grow, I guess. But definitely breaking down some of those barriers, the kind of social, economic barriers, but also this kind of problem I talked about earlier, which is the quality and the level of public analysis, I think has almost dragged down analyst salaries and the reputation and impact that analysts can have in the professional game. So there's a very famous study, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's about lemons, right? It's actually a bit of an inside joke in the data analysis industry because of a fairly prominent one that talked about selling lemons. But I think it started with car sales, right? If you've got somebody in the middle that knows nothing about the quality of a car and over here you've got a Porsche, and over here you've got a Skoda. To them, the average of two cars is whatever's in the middle, right? So if you're the Porsche analyst and there's people out there being not so great analysts on the other side, somewhere along the line, the average level of analysis is here, and that's the value of it. And there's no way to differentiate what a good analyst is and a bad analyst is. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened in the football world a little bit, where because of what's out there publicly in analysis, a lot of people think, oh, I can do analysis. I've seen it. I've seen it. There's some Twitter accounts that have got like quite literally hundreds of thousands of followers tweeting out total bullshit about analysis that adds no value. And you've got coaches and people seeing that being like, oh yeah, we do analysis here. We can do analysis, so it's not that hard to do. So let's go and get some kid that wants to do it for 20 grand a year. And the reality is, if you have a really, really good top level operator, they're worth far more than that to your organization. But I just feel like the reputation and the impact that analysis can have and good analysts can have in the football industry is being impacted by some of the problems in public analysis that I kind of outlined a little bit. So we're trying to build a platform to help tackle some of these issues and educate, and whether it's formally, with some of the licensing, or informally through webinars and blogs and some of that type of stuff, all analysis centered.
So there you have it, a brilliant opportunity for coaches to get involved. APFA, please check them out on the link below. Modern Soccer Coach are going to be really, really heavily involved. We're excited to get involved with some of the webinars, some of the content, and just being an active part of that community. Obviously, analysis is something that I'm really, really passionate about. It's something that I work at the minute. It's something that I really, really enjoy. It's something that I want to get better at as well. So I'm going to be taking advantage of that for sure. If you want to join in and you're a coach or you're an analyst, and you want to get involved, please go down to the link below, check it out. If you want to listen to the full podcast on this, you can also get the link below as well. If you have any questions about it, please reach out in the comments below. But I think this could be a real game changer in the world of analysis and the world of coaching, because we're going to get insight into clubs, into why people do certain things, into how people do certain things, and to connect the dots between analysis, game day management, training, philosophy. Everything comes together, and you can't do that there on a tweet or an Instagram post. You have to do it in a real in-depth way, and Ollie is going to facilitate that there with APFA. Really, really excited to get involved. Again, please, before you shoot off, check it out on the link below. Also subscribe on the link below. Also give this video a like if you wouldn't mind. Help promote the channel. Really, really appreciate all your help and support. I will see you soon.